there is one opening that most black players don't love to see, but they don't say it loudly. It is the London system. It just seems to be boring due to its repetitiveness nature, not to mention that there aren't so many traps that black players can set against the London. But in this video, I'm here to prove you wrong. There's actually a way you can still play pawn to e5. Even against the London or the accelerated London, and turn things back to normal. If you want to learn about my unique strategies, stay tuned and share this video. And hey, before we dive in, allow me not to waste your time by sharing something exciting. Check this out. Using my own little programming skills, I just built a brand new Casper Chess website where you can access my new chess courses plus some of the classic favorites. Please, I would love your honest feedback on the new look and feel. You see, after d4, when you start with c6, not only are you giving white a chance to go back to e4 so that you play the carry card, but you're kind of holding back to see what white is up to so that you choose the perfect opening to play. For example, if white plays pawn to c4 in this position, you will be good to go with the Slav defense. But if white doesn't play pawn to c4, and let's say they play bishop f4, now you will have an idea of the type of a player you are playing against. So maybe you will hold back a little bit and it will be easier for you to set up your preferred position. For example, in my case, when somebody plays the London system, most of the times I go pawn to d6, kind of making this death squad bishop look useless. If you just want to win a very quick game in rapid, blitz or bullet, even in classical chess, depending on your opponent's skill level, you can try the move pawn to g5. It's not a mistake, it's not a blunder. If anything, it's just an early advance. Well, point is they can't take due to queen a5 check. They are going to lose their bishop. But if I don't want to be very much predictable, sometimes I start with knight f6 instead of playing pawn to g5 immediately. And the moment white plays knight f3, I then follow it up with bishop g4 as if I'm interested in the knight. But the truth of the matter is, after something like bishop e2, I just want to take and then go pawn to g5. Again, white can't take due to the same trick that I showed you. Again, after bishop f4 and pawn to d6, you might see white playing knight f3 this time, delaying the move pawn to e3, right? So that you don't play that pawn to g5 move. Well, let me show you another cool thing that you can do against the London. First, you can play bishop g4 if you want. This is method number one. I'm giving you all these methods so that you avoid memorizing one line. Well, the point is, after something like pawn to e3 or similar, that's when you follow it up with pawn to g5. Just a tricky move to confuse your opponent. See that they can't take on g5 once again, right? The knight is pinned to the queen, so they will most likely take with the bishop. Thinking you can't win their bishop for free, it is defended by the knight. But you first of all start with bishop takes, eliminating the defender of that dark squad bishop, and after queen takes, that's when you go queen f5 check. Same death, same story. So let's go back a little bit. You see, it's not always that you should play that combination on the board involving pawn to g5. Method number two is where you intend to go e5, kind of turning back the game to the king's pawn game. In this case, you can still go bishop g4, and if something like e3 or pawn to e4 or even knight bd2 this time, that's when you transpose back to some kind of the rat defense with this rat move, knight d7. The purpose is to play pawn to e5, by the way. So if white plays pawn to h3, you don't really need the light squad bishop. Let them take back with the other knight. But guess what? Now you intend to go pawn to e5, but not in this position because white's queen is indirectly facing your queen. Maybe you don't want to trade off queens soon. So you first of all want to play this intermediate move, queen b6, which creates an impression as if you're attacking that pawn on b2. Well, the point is, if white plays rook b1 or pawn to b3, just an example, that's when you can go pawn to e5. Interestingly, most people on Lichess end up taking, and yeah, it doesn't matter which piece you take back with, but I love taking back with a pawn. I just want to castle long or bring that rook into the game. You see, taking with the pawn gives white a chance to blunder. For example, if they take with the bishop, just know they are losing because you are going to gain a free piece after knight takes e5. That's just a free piece. I mean, if knight takes, again, you have queen a5. You're going to win like that. But I love doing it this way. bishop b4 check, because that wins the queen. I mean, after that, you have bishop takes and the queen is dead. So after pawn to e5, white should back off, allowing you to fix your pawn structure as highlighted on the board, or if they choose to take and you take, they have to back off once again, because even if they take with the knight, this will be the same story. Instead of taking like this time you start with queen a5 check. Again, you just want to win a piece. For example, if they play something like bishop d2, but say what if they play queen d2? Well, now you go bishop b4 and the queen is just pinned to the king. Game over. Knight c4, you just take with check. By the way, this position is so tricky that even bishop g3 or bishop h2 loses. For example, if bishop g3 is played, you have bishop b4, almost winning the queen. If they block with their knight, now you go knight gf6. Their development is poor. The next move you want to play is knight e4, putting more pressure on that. If pawn to a3, by the way, you have bishop c3, they are going to lose the rook. If pawn to e3, you have knight e4, you're going to win that. Let's say they play pawn to f3 to stop knight e4. Well, but you have pawn to e4. Next, you want to go e3. a3, again, bishop c3, the rook is under attack. If they desperately play pawn to e3 themselves, you go queen takes, and all of a sudden they are going to lose a piece in this position. After that, maybe you even go queen c3 if you want to save your queen, or simply queen g5. Queen g5 is more matured. Why? Because if queen takes happens, you intend to take the other bishop and life goes on. So this is one reason why I love starting with pawn to c6 in some serious games, so that if white plays bishop f4, I just go d6. Question: which one of the lines I just showed you is my favorite? Is it the pawn to g5 line? Is it the knight f6 g5 line? Well, truth of the matter is, it depends with my opponent's skill level. If I'm playing against a complete beginner, I do not mind playing pawn to g5. If I'm playing against an intermediate level player or just an average player, I don't mind playing those moves, g5. But if I'm playing against somebody a bit stronger, I go for that queen b6 line and pawn to e5. And this is what they play. The plan from here is bishop g4, knight d7, queen b6. They start thinking of playing pawn to e5. That's all I know. Or what if they play pawn to e3 first, not allowing bishop g4? Another way of achieving your rat defense position is by going queen c7. Next, you just want to play pawn to e5. That's all. The goal is to neutralize this London bishop, right? Say if they play knight f3, now you can pin that knight to the queen. h3 or bishop e2, you just take that. If queen takes, up to you to play pawn to e5 now, or go back to some kind of the king's Indian or the perk. Knight d7 is also an interesting move in this position, but again, this is just an opening stage, so I don't mind going pawn to e5. Pawn takes, I take, that comes with an attack. Bishop g3, just an example. Then start developing my pieces normally. If you're wondering what is happening, my biggest hero in this opening is the c6 pawn, which kind of prevents white from doing whatever they want on the center. Bishop c4, bishop d6, or knight b d7. Castle short. I can even play pawn to e4 here, just to gain some more central space, or castle short, or play knight b d7. From here, it's just anyone's game. So back to our initial position, what do we learn here? Two things. Aside from the g5 gambit line, if white plays knight f3 in this position, you have time to develop your last squad bishop in order to capture that knight, then go the right way, knight d7 and e5. But in most cases, e5 must come after putting your queen on b6. I mean, that's when you play e5. Secondly, if white plays pawn to e3, you have no time to go bishop g4. That'll be hanging. So maybe you can try queen c7 and that. You see, queen c7 is such a universal move that it can be played in almost any variation from here. For example, even if white plays knight f3, you don't have to remember to go bishop g4. You can just go queen c7. There's nothing they'll do. If pawn to e3, again, that's when you pin their knight. Or what if they play pawn to e4 this time instead of pawn to e3 like this? Well, I believe you can still go bishop g4 in this position, because if pawn to e5 is played, the idea is not to take but to go e6, so that if pawn takes, we take back with a bishop, getting rid of the London bishop. And this should be good for black. So if anything, you can always start with queen c7. That's another option for you, while keeping an eye on queen b6. And hey, if you really care about this channel and want to see us grow, click the subscribe button. Also, don't forget to turn on the bell notification icon for all my content. That way you won't miss any of my future uploads. If you want to learn more about these kinds of tricks or similar opening ideas like the ones I just shared, you can watch this video that has popped up on the top left. Another video that I highly recommend you check out to skyrocket your rating is this one that has popped up on the top right. But if you love Gambit videos, you can check out the video that has popped up on the bottom left. And if you are a lover of chess traps like myself, feel free to click on the video that has popped up on the bottom right.